as we carry on with the conversation, I'm going to be citing a few things from the book. And of course, we are going to be going deeper into the real situation and also the literature of the Nigerian Civil War. It is true that you made mention of the fact that some Nigerians have written about it. But from my point of view, I think we haven't written enough at all about the Nigerian Civil War, because a lot of people passed through some terrible situation during that time. So
Yes.
I think our bookshop should be loaded with this because we need to explain what has happened, really detail everything that has happened from analysis to point of view to people who have lived the experience. We need to explain it. I think it's an obligation that we own the generation that are going to come after us. They need to know what has happened. They need to really know what has happened. That's what I want to say there.
Yes.
So, what
Yes.
would be the central message of this book that you have written? Tell us about that. Then we are going to move to some other segment of the argument.
Well, I would say the major message about the book is that war is actually not fun. War is death. I mean, anytime you hear about war, then you are talking about people dying, and it is a very serious issue. So that people don't, the decision to go to war should never be taken lightly. I think that's the central message. Decision to go to war by either party must not be taken lightly. War should be the very last resort in whatever situation.
That is a timely advice. Looking at the situation that
Yes.
we have today in the country, looking at the insecurity in the country, looking at, I don't want to go into systemic discussion today. Let's look at the Nigerian Civil War because it's a serious situation. This is a country that
Yes.
is 61 years today, okay, in October.
Mhm.
We have a lot of defects, a lot of challenges. So the best way to start resolving that problem is by talking about it. We need to talk about the problems that we have. Now, the first part of this segment in this conversation is the prelude to the war, before the war. What do you
Okay.
remember? What do you remember before the war? Like a country preparing towards war. What happened in those periods? What can you share with us?
I recollect October 1st, 1960. Preparing for it, that was Nigeria's Day of Independence. And everybody was highly elated. We looked forward to it, but then the truth must be told. Before Nigeria gained her independence, signs had begun to appear that all was not well. All was not well for the fact that the political parties then were not just mostly regional based, but they were, tribally based. One dominant party in the northern part of the country, another dominant party in the western part of the country, and another dominant party mostly in the eastern part of the country. And as independence approached, everyone thought it was going to be their people in power. So I think that was when the problem began, that early. Because if we had parties that were all nationally based, it would have been a different kettle of fish. But here we are people who were like fighting for their region, fighting for their tribe. And so the cracks began to appear. So we are not really too surprised when everything blew up to the stage we found it.
Thank you for that also. Yes, that is one of the things that actually is very scary that people should have tried to resolve at the time. And of course, in this sense, we are not going to leave our founding father out from it because they should have been able to know that the structure they were building, they should have been known upon what they were building it on. Some of them, unfortunately, were very secessionist. They were not they were not nationalist enough, and that seed of immaturity that they sow continued to haunt Nigerian evil till date. So that for the recent years, the administration of Buhari, for example, have been one of the most tribalized in the Nigerian recent history. And this is very dangerous. And I think the Nigerian people, the historians, people like you who are studying, who are reading the signs of time, should be sounding heavy warnings to those in Abuja, because it is not only costly in terms of money, it is costly in terms of where we want to go. Because at the end of the day, after we have fought and destroyed ourselves, that round table that we refuse to go, we will still go back there. But we will not be able to make up for the life that we have lost.
Definitely.
So the question I want to ask you, sir, is why do you think the political parties, like you just make mention of, were sectional and tribal and ethnic based? Why did the founding father not manage to agree on the future or where we were going as a country? Because you cannot build a foundation on the sand. It's going to collapse. They should have known this.
It's true. Well, probably I'm not in any position to answer for any of them. One would have expected, as at that time, there were not too many people who were exposed. And the few of them who were exposed, who were in politics, ought to have agreed to work together. But I think that was where the problem began. They did not really see the need to agree to work together. And so, right from the first general elections, I still remember I was, even when I was in primary school, I still remember all those days. My father will come back and he will buy newspapers, and you hear about mayhem, killings, everything, destruction. All just because maybe a dominant party in one part of the country believes nobody, the other party should not even come to campaign. It was that bad. They should not even come to campaign in their strongholds. And when they did, they burned vehicles, party vehicles, people were killed, and all sorts of things. So the problem began that early. So, for somebody like me, even at that tender age, I knew that something terrible was breeding. It didn't take long before it blew up. It was all that culminated in the first military coup. Those young men then thought, and I still believe, a lot of people condemn them, but then I don't. Even people try to say, okay, they were sectional, and all that. They saw that the country was heading in the wrong direction, and they thought they could come and stem the drift and get the country united, get the political class to work in the same direction. Unfortunately, maybe everything they thought about did not work out the way they thought it. And the coup failed. And then there was a counter coup, which finally destroyed the country.
Yes, it finally destroyed the country, and it becomes a chaos, just like a kind of patching it together.
Finally destroyed the country, because it was that counter coup that led to the Civil War, and then every other thing that happened thereafter.